Margaret sat in the sterile waiting room of the rehabilitation center, her hands trembling as she watched other families navigate their own private hells. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows that seemed to match the darkness that had settled over her life. Her husband Robert, the man she had loved and cherished for decades, was preparing to come home from his rehabilitation stay. But Margaret knew with crushing certainty that she couldn't handle what awaited her behind their front door. The decline had been gradual at first, then suddenly catastrophic. Robert's health had deteriorated in ways that medical textbooks described clinically, but that real life delivered with brutal, undignified reality. Complete incontinence meant that Margaret would need to change adult diapers multiple times a day, handling bodily functions that made her physically retch just thinking about them. The smell, the mess, the intimate degradation of it all felt like more than her body and soul could bear. But the physical care was only part of Margaret's nightmare. Robert's cognitive decline had transformed her gentle, reasonable husband into someone she barely recognized. One moment he would be argumentative, raging against her attempts to help him with the fury of someone who felt trapped in a body that no longer obeyed his commands. The next moment he would be irrational, making demands that made no sense, forgetting conversations they'd had minutes earlier, becoming confused about where he was or who she was. Margaret had spent sleepless nights researching caregiving techniques, watching YouTube videos about managing incontinence, reading articles about dealing with dementia-related aggression. Each piece of advice felt like a mountain she didn't have the strength to climb. The woman who had once run their household with efficiency and grace now felt overwhelmed by the prospect of lifting her husband, cleaning him, managing medications, and somehow maintaining her own sanity in the process. The isolation was perhaps the cruelest aspect of their situation. Robert's family lived across the country, unable to provide regular help. Margaret's own siblings were dealing with their own aging parents and couldn't offer the consistent support she desperately needed. Friends had started to drift away as Margaret's world shrank to the size of hospitals, doctor's appointments, and increasingly difficult conversations about prognosis and care options. "He needs a nursing home," Margaret whispered to herself in the rehabilitation center bathroom, the words feeling like both a betrayal and a lifeline. The guilt crashed over her in waves. Wasn't this what marriage vows meant when they spoke of in sickness and in health? Wasn't love supposed to conquer all obstacles, including the reality of adult diapers and cognitive confusion? But Margaret's body rebelled against what her mind knew was expected of her. The thought of changing Robert's diapers made her gag. The prospect of managing his argumentative episodes while dealing with incontinence accidents throughout the day felt insurmountable. She had tried to be the perfect wife, the devoted caregiver, but her physical and emotional limitations were proving stronger than her guilt. The discharge coordinator had painted a picture of home care that sounded manageable in theory. Visiting nurses, adult day programs, family support systems. But Margaret knew the reality would be different. She would be alone with Robert's needs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with no respite from the physical demands or the emotional toll of watching the man she loved disappear piece by piece. Margaret thought about the couples in movies who faced similar challenges with grace and dignity, where love conquered all obstacles and sacrifice felt noble rather than nauseating. But Hollywood hadn't prepared her for the reality of adult diapers, cognitive decline, and the physical revulsion that had become her constant companion when thinking about Robert's care needs. The truth that Margaret couldn't say out loud was simple but devastating. She didn't want Robert to come home. The man she had married was already gone, replaced by someone who needed more care than she could provide. A nursing home felt like abandonment, but home felt like a prison sentence that would destroy what remained of both their dignities. As Margaret sat in that waiting room, she faced the most impossible decision of her life. Choose her husband's presumed happiness or choose her own survival. What would you do in Margaret's situation? Is it selfish to choose nursing home care when you can't handle the physical reality of caregiving? Have you faced impossible decisions about caring for loved ones? Share your thoughts. This dilemma is tearing families apart everywhere. Like, comment, share, and follow this page for more.